In part 2 of the WCG Era Series, we take a look back at the Season 4 edition of the Australia Day T20 Big Bash. The first ever extended edition of the tournament witnessed a host of match-defining moments, witnessed huge upsets, and gave birth to new challengers who would stamp their mark on the competition. The old guard and the new kids on the block went head-to-head for backyard cricketing supremacy, but only one champion could be crowned. This is the story of arguably one of the greatest editions we ever saw at the WCG. This is the Season 4 Australia Day T20 Big Bash review, Redemption. We begin our review with Group A. The largest field ever seen at the Australia Day T20 Big Bash saw the 8 teams split into 2 groups. Group A saw the tournament heavyweights wet up and last year's grand finalist Nice Gary pitted together, with tournament debutants 2 inches short of a length and the saggy greens rounding out the group of death. Wet Up would take on the saggy greens in the opening match of the tournament, and if the tournament heavyweights thought they were going to have it all their own way, they had another thing coming, as the saggy greens exploded out of the blocks, hitting a flurry of boundaries. That is until Matt White knocked over Tom Doy departing for 15. But that would bring another debutant to the crease in Matt Thorpe, who would set the WCG alight, feasting on Gavin Merrifield, taking 21 off the third over to put the saggy greens in a commanding position in this opening fixture. Matt White would bowl a wicket maiden in the final over to restrict the saggy greens, but a stern chase was still ahead of the tournament heavyweights. So 38 the target for Wet Up, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that the saggy greens were in a strong position. However, Michael Johnson came out and made a mockery of the debutants' bowling, as he would hammer them to all parts of the arena. Many Wet Up fans would just be content with getting the win chasing a formidable target, but not Michael Johnson, who remarkably got to the target inside 10 deliveries and earned Wet Up a bonus point. So a tough lesson first up for the debutants, as Michael Johnson put on a clinic in the run chase, hitting 36 of 10 deliveries to propel Wet Up to a bonus point win and get their tournament off to the ideal start. Last year's grand finalist Nice Gary took on 2 inches short of a length the debutants in match 3, and once again the opening exchanges in this contest didn't go to script. Hamid El-Basher, captaining the newcomers, was in career best form at the top of the order as he blasted the Blues bowlers to all parts of the WCG to get his side off to a flyer. El-Basher would almost carry his bat through the innings, however he would fall on the final ball of the innings for 31, and the Blues had some work to do. George Paneras, the Nice Gary skipper, would get the run chase underway and begin in positive fashion. However, when he fell for 5, the Reds smelt blood in the water.
We got these, boys, we got these.
And when McGregor's horror season with the bat continued, being dismissed for a duck, last year's grand finalists were in big trouble. It was up to the debutant Luke Hardy to try and pull this one from the ashes. However, he couldn't stop the Reds from causing a massive ball over. So the new kids on the block sending an ominous warning to the remainder of the competition as they hammered Nice Gary in their opening fixture, bowling out the Blues inside 10 deliveries to acquire a bonus point of their own. Wet Up and 2 inches short of a length at the top of the table after round 1, and Nice Gary could ill afford another slip-up. A replay of the Season 2 decider to get us underway in round 2. Gavin Merrifield getting Wet Up off to a flyer at the top of the order, hitting some wayward Blues bowling to all parts of the arena to continue his brilliant season with the bat. Merrifield would fire his way to 20 before he became Luke Hardy's first wicket at the WCG, succumbing over the fence. But that would bring Matt White to the crease, and what would prove to be a regular occurrence throughout the tournament, he would feast on the Blues bowling as the tournament heavyweights saw their hopes evaporating. To make things worse, their main man was basically playing on one leg, as Pineros had picked up an injury in the field. White would hit 19 off the final over to push his side beyond 50 and all but end the Nice Gary hopes. So with a minor miracle needed, Nice Gary set about the run chase. McGregor would get to 4 before being clean bowled by Matt White. And when debutant Luke Hardy fell for a duck, the Blues' hopes were on life support. That would bring the injured skipper out to the crease, the last hope for the Blues. He came out defiantly and aggressively to try and rescue his side by any means necessary. Johnson copping an absolute bullet to the face. An insult to injury, it went to the boundary. However, he would pick himself up to take Pineros' wicket and end the match, and all but end Nice Gary's hopes in the tournament. So Wet Up made it 2 from 2 to breeze into the semi-finals. They would prevail by 30 runs in match 5, and Nice Gary had a nervous wait ahead of him, as a Reds victory in match 7 would see them crash out at the group stage. So the two tournament debutants, 2 inches short of a length and saggy greens, faced off in match 7, with the Reds looking to book a maiden semi-final berth. Alex Stepien getting the Reds off to a good start before succumbing for 22. Josh Bolling would add 4 before becoming Matt Thorpe's second wicket of the contest. That would bring Hamid Bashir, the skipper, to the crease, who pushed his side towards the 40 mark. However, he would be dismissed on the penultimate delivery of the innings. A one-handed catch off the root from Mitch Beavis, bringing the innings to an end. Not the start to the run chase the Saggy Greens would want. Matt Thorpe promoted to the top of the order, out for a golden duck. When Mitchell Beavis fell in the same over, the Saggy Greens' hopes held by a thread. It would all come down to the skipper Tom Doy, who would set about the rescue mission here for the Bottle Green. He would give his side, along with Nice Gary hopes, with a defiant last stand. Doy would make his way to 22 before succumbing to Alex Stepien in the third over, and the Reds had got the job done. So a defiant effort with the blade from the Saggy Green skipper, not enough to save their campaign, as they would ultimately go down by 14 runs in match 7, as the Reds booked their spot in the semi-finals. So Wet Up and 2 inches short of a length would battle it out for top spot in the next round, with Nice Gary and the Saggy Greens looking to avoid the wooden spoon in Group A. And it would be the battle for the wooden spoon in match 9, as Nice Gary took on the Saggy Greens, with Tom Doy picking up where he left off with the bat in match 7 to get his side off to a flyer. Doy would make his way to 21 before being clean bowled by a rocket from Pat McGregor, who finally got some reward for his toil. And when Luke Hardy removed the dangerous Matt Thorpe for 4, the Saggy Greens innings was brought to an end. Luke Hardy, propelled to the top of the order for the run chase, would begin positively for Nice Gary. However, he would become Mitchell Beavis' first wicket of the tournament as he succumbed for 6. Pineros would begin his innings in aggressive fashion once again, as he would make his way to 10 and seemingly have Nice Gary on their way to victory. However, when he became Mitchell Beavis' second wicket of the match, there was still plenty of work to do. That would bring Pat McGregor to the crease, the last hope for the Blues, but with his highest knock so far in the tournament, would guide the Blues home, and they would avoid the wooden spoon. So a thriller to end the tournament for both sides. The Saggy Greens can hold their head up high, pushing the tournament heavyweights right to the end. However, Nice Gary shone through to finish their tournament on a high. So top spot up for grabs in the final contest of Group A. Matt White would get Wet Up off to a flyer as he sought to put the new boys on the block back into their place with some blistering stroke play. A mix of aggression and some poor Reds fielding helped Wet Up take the ascendancy in this Group A decider as the Reds had no answer to the Matt White onslaught. White would continue his domination, making his way to 24. That is until he nicked an absolute beauty from Alex Stepien, who picked up a much needed wicket for the Reds. Stepien would go bang bang in the same over, removing Gavin Merrifield for a duck to claw their way back into the contest. That would bring Johnson to the crease, who would get one away to the boundary before he was beaten by an absolute beauty from Josh Bolling to round out the innings, and the Reds' comeback with the ball was complete. Josh Bolling would complete the batting rotation for the group stage and get the Reds off to a flyer before he nicked off to Michael Johnson for 6. That would bring the Red skipper to the crease, and he began in aggressive fashion once again. The main hope for this Reds run chase would make his way to 10 before advancing at Michael Johnson and getting a top edge over the fence, and the Reds' hopes appeared to have vanished. But no one told that to Alex Stepien, who came to the crease and went whack with his first 2 deliveries. Needing 12 from 3, he would hit a 4 and then a 6 on the penultimate delivery to set up a grandstand finish. But with 2 to get from the final delivery, he failed to make contact. A dot ball and an anti-climax to finish with. A valiant effort saw the Reds just fall short. However, a blockbuster ending to Group A would see Wet Up get the chocolates and top the group. So a thrilling encounter to round out proceedings in Group A. Wet Up prevailing by 1 run to seal top spot with a 100% record, as they have sent a warning to the remainder of the competition. So the final group standings, Wet Up and 2 inches short of a length finishing 1 and 2, with the Reds through to their first semi-final at their first attempt. Nice Gary finishing in 3rd, and the Saggy Greens in their debut tournament finishing rock bottom. With Group A complete, it's time to move on to Group B. Group B saw the defending champions How's That placed with the tournament's second comers, the 6 offenders, with debutants Young Money Cash Money and 60 Grit rounding out the group. The Group B opener would see debutants Young Money Cash Money taking on the 6 offenders, with Ryan Schaefer making his debut in the competition, getting off to a flyer. That is until he succumbed with the next delivery over the fence. Hard to believe that this was Rabiel Bash's first appearance in the competition. He would make his way to 10 before becoming Nathan Hancock's first victim of the tournament to put the 6 offenders in a strong position. But that would bring the 3rd debutant, namely Daniel Arnold, to the crease, who hit his first ball to the boundary and began to tuck into the canary yellow bowling to get his side back into the contest. Arnold would top score for the Men in Black with 18 before he became Tony Ibrahim's first wicket of the tournament as the innings was brought to an end. A positive start needed at the top of the order for the 6 offenders, and that's just what they got through Tony Ibrahim. However, he would be dismissed in the first over, hitting Schaefer over the fence. Daniel Hancock was the next man to the crease and would make his way to 7 before he hit Rabiel Basher out of the park to be the second man down for the men in yellow. And the match would end with the very next delivery, skipper Nathan Hancock hitting it out of the park, handing the debutants a first up win. So a brilliant performance from the newcomers Young Money Cash Money signalled their intentions for this year's tournament with a comfortable 23-run win in their opening match of the competition to rocket to the top of Group B. Next up, it was the defending champions How's That taking on tournament debutant 60 Grit in match 4. Skipper Mark Pasterfield getting the men in purple off to a positive start. However, that is as good as things would get for them. Pasterfield and debutant Clinton Cowan succumbing over the fence. And when Chris Mendham was also dismissed in the same manner, the innings was brought to an end on 11. How's That would make light work of the run chase. New signing Jack Sullivan would get the job done in the opening over to complete a crushing victory and get the defending champions off to the best possible start. So 60 Grit's first battle in the competition proving a very short one, as they were hammered by the defending champions How's That by 3 wickets, acquiring a bonus point in the process. So How's That would rocket to the top of Group B, Young Money Cash Money with their opening match victory in second, and work to do for the 6 offenders and 60 Grit and the remaining fixtures. Young Money Cash Money took on 60 Grit in match 6, looking to make it 2 from 2. However, it was a strong start with the ball for the men in purple, removing the Young Money Cash Money skipper for 4. That would bring the first match hero Daniel Arnold to the crease, and he picked up where he left off in match 2, as he would hit the 60 Grit bowlers to all parts of the WCG on his way to 24 to propel Young Money Cash Money into a strong position. It was that man again, Daniel Arnold, who would get the ball rolling for Young Money Cash Money, removing Chris Mender for 4. The 60 Grit skipper would come to the crease and begin positively. However, after being tied down for an over or so, decided it was best to let Clinton Cowan come in and have a crack. The move proved to do little to change the course of the innings, as the match petered out and Young Money Cash Money breezed to another victory. So the debutants Young Money Cash Money making it 2 from 2 with a comfortable 16-run victory in match 6 against fellow debutant 60 Grit to book their spot in a maiden semi-final berth. The defending champions took on the 6 offenders, looking to book their spot in the semi-finals. However, the men in yellow had other plans, Tony Ibrahim getting the yellow off to a flyer before he was smartly caught by youngster Costa Sabas, dismissed for 11. Smart catch there from the youngster, getting the defending champions underway. However, that would bring the youngster Nathan Hancock to the crease. The 6 offender skipper began his innings positively as he looked to build on the platform laid by Tony Ibrahim to keep their tournament hopes alive. The youngster would hit a maximum and 3 fours on his way to 19 before he became Brendan Scott's first wicket of the contest. Daniel Hancock would succumb over the fence in the same over, and the 6 offenders' innings was brought to an end. Costa Sabas would get the run chase underway for the defending champions. However, after being tied down by some brilliant 6 offenders bowling, was retired by his skipper, which wasn't received well. It would prove to be an inspired decision as Scott began to make up for lost time, taking the attack back to the 6 offenders bowling, Tony Ibrahim coming in for particular treatment to have the How's That run chase back on track. But in a moment that would reshape the entire complexion of the group, Daniel Hancock picked up the big wicket of Scott for 14, and the 6 offenders had taken a giant leap towards saving their tournament. Jack Sullivan would come to the crease and set up a grandstand finish. However, an air swing on the penultimate delivery of the innings ended the defending champions' hope for victory, and the 6 offenders got home in a classic to throw Group B wide open. So the 6 offenders causing a ball over in match 8 to keep their tournament alive, as they prevailed against How's That by 6 runs to throw Group B wide open heading into the final round of matches. Young Money Cash Money leapfrogging the defending champions into top spot. How's That still in second place, but with the men in yellow hot on their heels with 1 match to play. So a top of the table clash to get us underway for the final round of matches, and it was business as usual for Daniel Arnold, who continued his stellar form with the bat in this year's tournament. He would make his way to 17 to get the men in black off to another flyer in this tournament before his innings was brought to an end, clean bowled by Brendan Scott. But that would bring Ryan Schaefer to the crease, who picked up where Daniel Arnold left off to put the finishing touches on the innings to have the tournament debutants in a strong position. So a huge chase required for the defending champions. How's That skipper Brendan Scott would open up the innings and get his side off to a flyer, taking particular liking to his opposition number, as Scott would take 18 from the second over of the innings to have his side back on track in the tournament and to seemingly have his side on top in the run chase. That is until that man again, Daniel Arnold, produced this. Scott departed for 22 to have Group B on a knife's edge once again, having the tournament debutants Young Money Cash Money eyeing off top spot in Group B. Jack Sullivan would come to the crease and show some fight once again for the defending champions. However, with his dismissal came the end of the How's That hopes. Sullivan dismissed for 4 and Savas went for a duck as Young Money Cash Money made it 3 from 3 in Group B. So an outstanding result for the tournament debutants, who made it a 100% record to round out Group B, prevailing by 15 runs to blow Group B wide open, as it would all come down to the final match. The 6 offenders took on 60 grit, knowing that a win would see them qualify for the semi-finals. However, once again in this group, things would not go to script. Chris Mendon with an inspired knock at the top of the order, looking to go out of the tournament on a high, frustrating the men in yellow in the process, who saw their tournament hopes slipping through their fingers. Tony Ibrahim, who was poor in the field, would redeem himself with 2 big wickets, bringing Mendon's innings to an end on 19 and removing Mark Pasterfield with the final ball of the innings. So 31 to get for a spot in the semi-finals, and it appears to be a disastrous start for the men in yellow. However, a divine bit of luck here for Daniel Hancock saw his thick outside edge coming back into the field of play off the house to spare his wicket, to his obvious surprise. Hancock would set about making the most of his good fortune, hitting the next delivery to the boundary. However, he wouldn't last much longer, clean bowled by Mendon for 9. And when the 6 offender skipper was clean bowled for a duck in the following over, their hopes hung in the balance. That would bring the last hope, Tony Ibrahim, to the crease, who still had 14 to get when he made his way to the middle. However, consecutive boundaries in the final over would get his side home in a thriller to cue wild celebrations. The 6 offenders in just their second year of existence had qualified for the finals for the first time, condemning the defending champions How's That to a first ever group stage exit. So in what was a brilliant contest to round out the group stage, the 6 offenders prevailing by 1 wicket in the final over to book their ticket to the semi-finals. Tony Ibrahim the hero at the end to get them over the line. So the final standings in Group B, debutants Young Money Cash Money finishing top spot with a 100% record, the 6 offenders sneaking in second position, the defending champions How's That finishing in third, with 60 grit, the tournament debutants, finishing bottom of the pile. So the semi-finals for this year's edition locked in. Semi-final 1 would see the red hot Wet Up take on the Cinderella story from this year's edition, the 6 offenders. And semi-final 2 is a battle of the dark horses, as Young Money Cash Money would take on 2 inches short of a length. So semi-final 1 saw the 6 offenders looking to continue their Cinderella run in this year's tournament, and they were very nearly off to the perfect start in this semi-final, with a close call for Matt White early on. However, White would settle into the innings and continue his dominance with the bat in this tournament, as he would plunder anything loose from the 6 offenders bowlers to get his side off to another flyer. The men in yellow appeared to have no answers to a rampant Matt White, who was beginning to take the game away from them. That is until Tony Ibrahim picked up his 4th wicket for the tournament, removing the dangerous White in fortuitous fashion as he had to go for 26. And then a fight back with the ball from the men in yellow. Gavin Merrifield had to go for a duck, edging Nathan Hancock through to the keeper. And when Johnson fell on the very next delivery, the 6 offenders had restricted Wet Up and fought their way back into the contest. But unfortunately for the men in yellow, they would offer very little resistance with the bat. They failed to register a single boundary as Matt White and co ripped right through the 6 offenders to book their place in a second grand final. So perhaps a bridge too far for the 6 offenders, who were humbled by Wet Up in semi-final 1, going down by 28 runs to see the men in green book their spot in a second grand final. Who would join Wet Up in the decider? Young Money, Cash Money and 2 inches short of a length battled it out in semi-final 2. And it was the men in red who would land the first blow, removing the dangerous Arnold for 4. That would bring Ryan Schaefer to the crease, who would once again begin his innings in aggressive manner. He would give a sharp chance to Hamid Basha, who was unlucky but prevented another maximum. But that seemed to spur Schaefer on, as he would play a match-defining innings to have the men in black moving towards a strong position. However, the innings was stifled when Schaefer succumbed to bowling in the final over. It took a boundary on the final delivery of the innings from the skipper to push the men in black over the 30 mark. So it would be Josh bowling to get the run chase underway, and he survived a nervy moment in the opening over. He survived a massive appeal from the men in black. However, the replay would suggest that the decision was a correct one. There would be no doubt 2 balls later, bowling clean bowl by Schaefer for 1. That brought the red skipper to the crease, who needed a captain's knock to get his side back into the contest. A pair of boundaries seemingly having the skipper on his way. However, when he was dismissed by that man again, Daniel Arnold for 8, the Reds' hopes went with him. The match would peter out, and Young Money, Cash Money would book their spot in a maiden grand final. So the men in black winning this battle of the dark horses to maintain their 100% record in the tournament, to prevail in semi-final 2 by 16 runs, booking their spot in a maiden grand final at their first attempt to set up a blockbuster against Wet Up in this year's decider. So it would be the 2 best sides of this year's competition. The 2 group winners would face off in this year's big dance. Wet Up would win the toss and bat first, with Matt White at the top of the order, and he got off to a flyer once again to set the tone early on in this grand final. He would pounce on anything loose to make his way to 19, before that man again, Daniel Arnold, got the key breakthrough. White dismissed with the score on 23. That would bring Gavin Merrifield to the crease, and Merrifield would continue his good form throughout the season, picking up where White left off and proving a little too hot to handle for the men in black. Merrifield would put the icing on the cake, hitting the final delivery of the innings to the boundary to finish unbeaten on 14. With 39 the target, this is how the men in black would want to have started. Arnold hitting Matt White for a maximum off the very first delivery of the run chase. Arnold would continue his stellar form with the bat in the tournament to get the men in black off to a flyer in the run chase and have them on track for victory. Arnold would make his way to 20 as he hit Michael Johnson for another boundary, until a bizarre twist of fate, an air swing to the very next delivery, brought about a premature end to Arnold's innings. Arnold succumbing to a back injury as he would hand the baton over to Ryan Schaefer. But disaster for the men in black with the very next delivery, as Schaefer went for a golden duck to swing the momentum back in Wet Up's favour. It all hinged on the Young Money, Cash Money skipper, who needed 14 from the final over, and after narrowly surviving a run-out scare, began to swing the blade in hope. He would get Matt White away for back-to-back boundaries to set up a dramatic final few deliveries to put the men in black 1 strike away from a maiden Big Bash title. 5 required from the final delivery. Consecutive air swings from Rabiel Basher, bringing this epic grand final to a close. So in a dramatic finale to this year's tournament, it is Wet Up who claimed their maiden Australia Day T20 Big Bash title, prevailing by 4 runs in an absolute classic to finally get their hands on the title after previously being denied. Matt White was named man of the tournament, and after a dominant display in this year's tournament, the men in green would finally get their hands on the trophy, which had eluded them 2 years prior.